Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. We're just going to be doing another one of the chat days, but I think we had an idea about books that we've enjoyed reading, I think, that have changed our lives, because I think that's
Oh, that's well, I was thinking of like ideas in my head that for books I wanted to write that I never
oh,
wrote. But also there are books that changed my life. I mean, I always go into that too. It's like I remember my first do you remember your first long book that you read?
it might have been Dick and Jane. What do you mean long book?
Really?
Like longer than 10 pages or longer than
Yeah, like
than
like
50 pages?
we used to call them, what the hell do they call them?
Young adult novels or something like
Yeah,
that.
classic whatever, and it was like
Mysterious Benedict Society. I went back recently, and because it was hidden behind some portion in my brain. You know, when you can see the characters on the cover of the page, and you're like,
yeah,
I know what it is, I know what it is, I know what it is, and then I finally figured it out. And yeah, Mysterious Benedict Society was one of them.
yeah,
I never really read Harry Potter. Never really did that.
me neither.
Mom used to read Redwall to me a lot. Redwall was
Oh
a
God,
big
yeah.
one. I never read that on my own though. I don't think. I don't think I was
Did
ever.
we listen to that in the pickup truck?
That was Aragon or
Aragon.
the
Oh
one with
yeah.
the freaking dragon, and it was
God, that
boring.
was
It was
painful. That was
yeah.
so painful. I had to wait for you to say uncle.
He had bluey
You know.
bluey scales, and his eyes
Yes.
were like
Hello.
mini pools that dripped
This is
onto the.
Aragon. I'm going to talk to us in a sexy voice because I'm talking to 6-year-olds.
Yeah,
And
it
you're like,
was weird. Yeah,
dude, that's weird.
that
Stop
was
that.
strange. The voice actor
Yeah, it
choosing on
was.
that one was
Yeah.
a
Well, it was
little
very.
strange.
Yeah, they were coming in at the way that I would. Hello, I am scary. That would be good, but hello, I'm here to talk to little children. And you're just like, whoa, dude, stop that.
But
It
it
was
was written
very.
by a 12-year-old. You know that, right? A
No, I
12 or a
didn't.
13-year-old, yeah, wrote that whole
Oh,
series. And
oh,
yeah, that dragon series, the one with the blue, green, and red dragons. You remember the covers with
yeah,
the yeah, that was all written by I think about no, it was around 13 or 14, yeah. But
yeah.
those were 500-page books as well.
Well, what about? I mean, I remember Redwall, and was that the rabbits?
Yeah, yep. The hamsters, rabbits,
Oh my God,
and then
so cool. And they had
something
it, and they
else.
built a fortress, and they were hiding behind it, and the guys were talking about how to get into the fortress, and they were going through little hidey holes to get in, and it was just wow.
Exactly. The was the equivalent of Game of Thrones, but animal Game of Thrones
Right,
kind of.
exactly. And they
Written
had the
almost
different
better.
types, the big
Mhm.
the big rabbit and the little rabbit and the small guy, and then oh my God, it's a kitty cat. And it's like, well, where there's two of us, we will take that kitty cat, and just they
Exactly.
didn't call it a kitty cat. It was something else. I don't know
No,
what they,
big fur monster or something like
big
that.
fur monster or
Big fur
something,
monster.
very, very different.
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot. Oh, it was something else. Stewart, I think, wrote that. That sounds familiar.
The Year of the Cat.
No, that was a good song. That's a good song.
Yeah.
You listen to that? Year of the Cat
Yeah.
by
Yep.
who was that by?
Al Stewart.
Al Stewart. Yeah, there we go.
That's what I thought.
What was the
Yeah.
other one that he wrote?
Uh,
Oh, I
he didn't
can't
do
remember.
Cats in the Cradle, did he?
Here, I gotta look this up. This is gonna bother me. Hold on.
Who
I
was
actually
Cats in the Cradle? Was Cats in the
no,
Cradle?
that was Harry Nielsen. That was Harry Nielsen.
You know all those things. I have no clue who the hell these people are.
I'm really smart.
That's right. You're
Really,
really
really smart.
smart. Yeah, that's what we
Hold
did.
on. There's one other
We took
song.
we took most of the brain genes from mom.
I think all of them. Time
Yeah.
Passages. Time
Oh
Passages is the
yeah,
one that
I
I
remember.
was thinking
That's it.
about.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one that I was thinking
That's
about.
it.
That's a
Most
good song.
definitely.
Do you think Al
Wow.
Stewart and Rod Stewart are related?
What do we? No, I don't think so. I was thinking of
They're
that.
not. I looked it up the other day.
We were talking about the books that you put on the shelf. What did we call those?
Books that you put on the
I think we
shelf.
called them big boy books or something like that because I read Crazy Horse and I read it in third grade, and it was my first uh real book that I read, and
Yeah.
I read it on
Yeah.
my own, and I didn't read it for a book report or anything like that, and it was very, very long, and I just remember to the end when they murdered him, and I didn't believe it. You know, that was what was so different. Because at the end they said, yes, Crazy Horse comes in, he gives himself up, he walks into, they take his horse, they take his weapon, they take everything, they put chains into him. He waited for all this, right? And then they're marching him into his cell, and he tries to run away. So we shot him 14 times. And you're like, okay, that's not real.
Whitewashing history. Yeah, that's what
You
it sounds
murdered
like.
him. That's what I thought. That
Yeah.
was just it. And here I was in third grade, and I can still remember reading the pages, thinking that the Indians were right. That was what was so strange, and that's
Jeez.
why it's kind of that's stuck with me. I mean, third grade, shit. What was I like 9?
Yeah.
So 9 years old. I'm now 64. So that was 55 years ago, and I can still remember turning the page and I was reading it and I got the feeling and I was like, that's horrible. You know, wow. My
Well,
God, I hope I don't get that book banned. No,
we're gonna
but
try.
the
We're
thing
gonna
is that
try.
yeah, we're gonna try now.
We're
Crazy
gonna
Horse,
try
man.
now.
It's got
So
murder and horror and
we have a
but
link in
they
our
didn't say it was
description
murder.
for donations to and petition signatures to ban the book that we are talking about.
Well, yeah, the one thing I always hear is that the people who ban books are never in history ever on the right side. So
Oh, never, never
yeah.
at all. I mean, you
And I
can go
mean,
back and
you think about that, and it's funny that we get into this topic since we are talking about books, is that I mean, we used to get dictionaries and look up the dirty words,
oh yeah, yeah. I think
and that
everybody
was
did
like the
that.
cool thing. Well, you had the internet. We didn't have the internet. I mean, you were
We
looking
still
at
did that at
porn.
school
You were
though.
looking at porn in third grade. I mean,
Oh yeah,
we
yeah. I
had to go
remember
like,
that.
break into our brother's under his mattress or something, and we looked at Playboy, which just to let you
Wasn't
know
really.
was not like movable video live sex, whereas like
Mhm.
you know
3D.
red tube 3D pop up the screen and there's like one two there's three six nine there were 9 different sex acts going on at the same time and I'm like, whoa,
What a world this is.
whoa,
What a
this
world.
is this is whoa.
This is the future.
And I remember somebody telling me like, your kid introduce it to everybody. I'm going like, what? Really? And then it's like, and then I heard from one of the teachers, it's like, no, it comes up every year. What happens is a fourth grader tells a third grader, hey, you should go to RedTube. And then the third grader goes like, what's RedTube? It's really cool, man. It's about, you know, candy or something. And then you go and you pop it in and you look at it and you're like,
The
and
age
some
old
people,
prank. Yeah.
well, some people like you just look at it and go like, oh, whatever. And then other people stay with it.
Investment. And
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I
Gosh.
started investing time in that until I was about 12.
Yeah.
So, but that's just, do we need to go
Investing
into that?
time.
Yeah. In the deeper time. I didn't really invest a lot of time in porn until I was 12.
Oh
And then I
man.
was like, oh, but
That's
then the only thing you could invest in then was like you
you
had
got me. You
yeah,
got me with that
you
one.
had
Gosh.
magazines, man. I mean, we had magazines. And of course, the leader when I was growing up was Hustler, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
And they had
That's for
the
sure.
yeah,
So
what
those
was
are
the name of it?
memorable books for you.
Yes, those
Yeah.
memorable books.
Those are memorable books.
Yeah, I can tell you there's a
Yep.
few that are remembering there. Anyway, to move away from that,
What is another one
from
that I'm thinking of? The Road. The Road is what taught me that reading was
oh my
going to
God.
be was interesting. Because I remember in high school, I was practically illiterate. Like I would never read anything. I would read
Yeah.
maybe the first 3 pages of a book and then pretend that I read it
Hmm.
because we had the internet and we would just look up online like the synopsis for the chapter. Because or not prescribe, but they tell you to read all these books that are just so boring and just
Yeah.
not intrinsically have any value to them at all. And they also have you read Dante's Inferno when you're a sophomore in high school, and it's like,
Oh God.
why would I ever want to do that? Nobody ever wants to do that. Why don't you teach people the value of reading and that there are books out there that will have
Uh,
interest in, and it's
11th grade, we did Chaucer.
yeah, yep,
Okay. Did that, read all that. Now I'm in my next to last year in college, and we were doing the Canterbury Tales in college, Chaucer in college, and I remember being taught English literature, by this dude that's telling me that anything you think about this book has already been written and known. So what you're
exactly.
here to do is to listen to what I say and then parrot it back to me in a paper and a summary and all that. And then that's how you get a high grade. Because I was always like, wow, they want us to think. And it's like, no, they didn't. They just wanted us to spit out what the hell they spit at us. And it was kind of boring. I mean, there were different things that, if you had a photographic memory or you're really good at memorizing shit, in listening, you would do really, really, really well. I mean, I think I got a B in the class, which, in college means that you showed up. And I mean,
That's
you know that.
exactly what that
You
means.
went to UVA. Come on, you got at least a B for showing up.
Oh yeah. Well, I we had to read the Canterbury Tales in Old English, which I was it's a different language. It's an
Oh
entirely
yeah.
different language.
I
And it doesn't there he's like, "Well, you can look up the translated version if you want." And I'm like, "But I don't understand what it is if I don't
Right,
look up the translated version." And
right.
he's like, he didn't understand it. He didn't understand why I needed the translated version.
Well, it's like giving
And
you a book
he
in
was like,
Spanish and saying, "Hey, if you really need to understand it, you should probably either learn Spanish or look it up and read the English version." And you're like, no poop on that one, guy.
This
Really?
was a historical literature class just teaching us about the most important text too at the time. And we had to read excerpts from every like whatever was considered timeless literature, which I don't believe exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was talking about that. He's like, if you really need the translated version, it's online.
I'm trying
And
to
I never
remember
really understood.
in the
Yeah,
Canterbury Tales, there was a guy, a knight, that was fighting with a shield. And on the back of the shield, there was all these imprints. I remember
the
that
crest or
distinctly.
something.
The crest is on the front, but
That's
on
on
the
the front.
back
Yeah,
there was like a picture of some lady in a pool or some whatever. There's like 4 or 5 different things on the back, and there was an explanation for what each one of those pictures was, and it was written in Old English, like you say. So you're sitting there, and it's like, yeah, on Guardian Sir Galahad or whatever the hell his name was. Uh, he holds his shield high and he peers into the eyes of so and so, which is on the back of his shield before he goes into battle and fights. And it's something to that effect. And it's like, I'm remembering this from 35 years ago, so I'm probably wrong. But what I remember is that they had decided exactly what everything that he did meant. And I couldn't understand how I could read a book that you wrote 300 years ago and say, I know exactly what Zach was thinking. I just don't think that that's I could probably interpret it and guess and say this is one interpretation, but I think the whole idea that you can sit there and say that we've decided that this is what it was, and you could validate it with his upbringing and who he was and how he wrote it and all that kind of stuff like that. But you can't say what a person's thinking. I
no,
just
not at all.
I find that
What
to
I
me,
learned is that people that go into university and become professors so that they can tell other people that they're wrong. I think that's that's what I've learned, at least at UVA, because it was the same thing. I didn't even have a professor teaching me. I had a TA, a teaching assistant, who was a graduate student, telling me that I was incorrect. And it was
you know,
funny because I would turn in papers to the TA, and they would love to just shit all over you and just give you the worst grade imaginable. You turn the same paper in to the professor, and they give you a higher grade. It's hilarious.
I just think
It's
it's funny
very
that you
interesting.
said TA and I did not think of teacher's assistant. Okay. But anyway, I
Of
mean, my
course you
mind
did.
just was like, you, you had you had TA in class.
And that's
Wow.
why you're not a
That's,
professor, right? Is that why you're
yeah,
not?
exactly. I wouldn't be a
Yeah.
professor, man. No
No.
way.
Another
Uh,
book that I read, I think that was really important. I'm trying to think. So the road got me interested in English again, reading and just knowing that there are books out
mhm.
there that are worthwhile, that are worth
Yeah.
the challenge. And then Faulkner also. Light in August. Light in August was one of my favorite books that I've ever read.
Really.
That was
I need to
really,
write something
really
down when
well.
you're saying that. You're
I
gonna,
gave that to Brian actually as a graduation gift or for a birthday gift.
did he read it?
No, he never read it.
Late
But yeah,
in August. Because I'm looking for things
light,
to
light in August.
light.
Light. But that was really good. That was a struggle in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then working my way through it, I was like, there were very, very impactful excerpts
Les
from that.
Mis was a struggle for me.
Well, that's what 700
Yeah.
pages,
Yeah.
800, something like that.
Whatever that is. It's like this, that. And for
The
me, that was I read another one which was Jungle. That was
that
great.
was huge for me as
It
well.
was there were so many like moving chapters. But the thing is with any classic that's, 400 to 700 pages long, they set up the story kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie where there's
Exactly.
7 or 8 different things that happen. And each one of these is going to have come, they're all going to sort of come together at the end, and then you're going to get an outcome. And that is just, you know,
Well, that was
but,
my issue.
if I'm reading about the Pizza Boy, and then I'm reading about FedEx, and then I'm reading about Boeing Airlines, and I'm like, what the, and then I get to like 250 pages, and all I've learned is a little bit of crap about 10 different things, and then all of a sudden it's like whoosh, and you're like, whoa, this is
My
what's
issue too is the stream of consciousness narrative is coming back, which was famous in the 1800s, and well, more so the 1900s. Sorry, the early 1900s through World War
yeah,
One and World War Two, which was Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, was written
yeah,
in that sort of style. And man, like my brain cannot follow a stream of consciousness narrative to save my life. But there's been like a revitalization of that in recent
yeah,
nonfiction or in fiction literature. Sorry,
yeah,
and I just finished a book called Human 40,000 Years of Consciousness or something like that. And I was waiting because it's kind of combined with a fiction narrative, but then telling you about what like Neanderthals experience, what people in the romantic period experience and things like that. And it's just impossible. It's impossible to follow. I don't know.
yeah. When you
Bizarre.
say Virginia Woolf, I think about when you were telling me that she committed suicide, right?
Yeah, yeah, she put rocks in her pockets, walked into the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how poetic is that? I can't think of it.
That's just uh wow. I mean, I think Sylvia Plath putting her head in an oven is one thing, and laying there and just going, well, I think this is the end. But rocks in your pocket is just like how, if you're gonna when you hang yourself or something like that, you can't get out of it once you started. I guess you could if you reached up or something like that.
Hmm.
But wow, rock, that to me is just so, I'm done with you.
Yeah. No,
I
exactly.
finished life, I'm done,
Very, very tired. Very tired
wow.
of that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was I remember learning that. It was crazy.
Wow.
Somebody
Well,
said because she was in Germany or something like that, and the Germans
yeah.
were coming,
Oh,
and it was something about that. But even then,
yeah.
like
That's pretty.
I would jump off a building before I drowning to me is my
No.
worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That like
Drowning or burying me and letting me die in a
I
box.
would
That would be.
rather be set on fire than be
Yeah.
buried. I would
Oh, yeah,
rather,
yeah.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Most
easily.
definitely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's
Without
it.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind.
Yeah. What is that one movie? Is it where they beat Joe Pesci silly with the baseball bats? It's one of the Casino,
Oh,
or
is
I
it?
think
It's not Goodfellas, is it?
it's Casino or Goodfellas. I think they just shoot him in the back
They,
of the head.
yeah, yeah, they shoot him
But
in the back of the head.
Casino, him and his brother, they take him out in the cornfield. They beat him to near death.
Mm,
They throw him into a thing, a grave,
mm.
and they're still alive, cussing. Joe's still cussing. You know, and they're throwing dirt on them, burying them.
Ugh.
And I'm just like, you made me feel all that pain, and you stopped short of killing me, and so now you're just going to, oh,
Yeah,
that's like, to me, horror. that
no.
that was that was just like, wow.
We'll talk about
That's,
the Kill Bill scene. You remember when
yeah.
she does the concentrated punch to the coffin?
Oh yeah,
I
that
remember
made
watching
me
that.
frightened.
Yeah, that made me squirm.
That made me frightened. I was just so frightened.
Another thing I watched for maybe it was the first or second. Was it the second time? 127 hours when the guy cuts his arm off.
Oh,
Yeah. I watched that for the first time recently.
and you would
First
climb
or
still?
second.
No,
Oh my gosh.
I
That
guess I
was
would. I don't know.
well, I would tell people where I was going.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Because
yeah,
the character in the movie, well, he real guy as well, was talking and he's like, you didn't tell anybody. Like the whole time he's talking to himself. He's like, you didn't tell anybody that where you went or what you were going to do. Not
yeah,
even the cashier. And he's
yeah.
like, well, it's Friday and they're not going to really know until Monday. And then on Monday, they're going to have to wait 24 hours because they put the missing persons report. They're going to have to wait 24 hours.
Oh my
Then it's going to be
gosh.
Tuesday. And he was thinking about it in that way.
Oh wow. And
So
you have to run through your mind and say, well, I can just die, or
yeah,
slowly through dehydration or whatever the hell it is, or how am I going to get out?
yeah. And then your brain just like eats itself alive too while you're
Yeah.
behind the rock. It's
Well, yeah, the mind will just start racing. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Is there a
yeah,
way out? Is there a way out? The sad thing is you keep trying the same thing and you're like, it's not going to work. But then the idea that you have to take a rock and break your arm in half, break your bones, and then
yeah.
cut through the skin with a pen knife, uh, and then walk, a couple miles
7 miles. I think it was 5 to 7 miles. Yeah. But he also had to belay from a point that he was at, which I didn't even know either. So after he cut his arm off, he had to belay another, I think it was 100 feet down to the trail, which is wild to say the least.
wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty tremendous.
yep, that is.
And he had like all these esoteric dreams about like waterfall, like it's starting to rain. And then it
Yeah,
came in and then he could get his arm out from under the rock. And then he'd
yeah.
wake up and he's like, "Oh my God." Like, yeah,
It
oh,
was a dream.
yeah.
Ooh,
No,
you
exactly. And
know.
seeing like visions too. Because when you are that depraved or deprived, it's
Mhm.
you see so much, you
I
hallucinate
can just imagine if he
vividly.
had an itch in the middle of his back. That would just suck so bad.
Oh man. Or an
Damn it!
ant
Damn it!
an
I'm
ant.
trying to reach.
Oh
Shit!
my,
If I could only have my other arm free, I could itch
it'll
my
make
back.
my back itch. Gosh.
Yeah, you just think about that weird stuff like that that just goes off, But yeah, I mean, it is kind of we got into like the educational aspect of books and then hopped off on a movie and oh my
I know.
man.
Here we are. Episode
Yeah.
38. 38.
Yeah. Yeah.
38 episodes. Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
37 was the one I
Yeah.
released a couple days ago. Yeah.
Oh, back what we were going to talk about. Books.
That you
Books
would
that we
have.
read that were
Yeah.
important or that we wanted to write. I mean, I remember in uh, uh, community college, this would have been 1980 when I decided I wanted to write a book. And that's what I was thinking about when I said this whole idea of like being creative and all that. It's like, what did you want to put down? And at that time, I wanted to write a book and I wrote like the first 20 pages of it, really easy. And it was going to be where the government of the United States was overthrown by internal forces. And I came up with things like and they were groups, and they were groups within current agencies that we have now. The CIA, the internal group, was the Agency for Insurgency and Control. I still
Wow.
remember. I mean, think about it. What they did is they just took the letters, and I forgot what FBI was. I'd gotten enough. I knew all of the different. I knew a bunch of different agency acronyms like FBI, CIA. What's the other one? Uh, uh, Security industry.
NSA.
Each one, and I, and all the people were like ex-mercenaries or they worked for the government directly and they were spurned by that and they got together and they made an organization and each one of them started like doing things to overthrow the organization. I mean, to overthrow the government. And the way you do that is to unseat the people at the very top or to make the nation unstable. And that's what the book was about. But I only got like 20 pages in. And then the more and more I read it, I'm like, I look around and I'm saying, wow, strange. I never actually wrote it, but all the characters, and I developed the characters, were like, there were people from North Vietnam. There were North Vietnamese that were angry that they'd lost their families. And here they were in 1982. This is payback. That's what it was. And there was a number of different other countries involved in how to support the internal overthrow of the U.S. And it was like, you know,
That would have been a
now I,
great
yeah,
idea.
yeah, and it's like that was my idea, and I've never, it's like a lot of things. I have a lot of ideas that I don't execute on, and it's like, but I started and I wrote it. I still have it. It's handwritten, like the first, and I write in cursive, so I could probably make it out and figure it out and develop the idea and do that. And, it goes back to your first book ever was
Mr.
what's his name?
Dixon, yeah, yeah.
Mr. Dixon. Oh my
When I was like
God.
9 or 10 or something, yeah.
No, you weren't even that old. You may
Wow.
have been 9 or 10, but it was
That
it
was like
was like,
40 pages.
yeah, it was
25,
crazy.
30,
Yeah.
40, I don't know, something like that.
Mr. Dixon, the Private Eye.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that
You
was
had to read it. You had to read it in the right frame of mind. Like a Rod Stewart. That's what I think. See, I could actually have done that. That what I think would have been, hello, this is Mr. Dixon. And he's talking to Sheila Johnson. Hi, I'm Sheila Johnson, and I've been wronged, and I need you, Mr. Dixon, to actually come in and do this. Yes. And
it
so
almost read like
whatever.
a Grisham thing too. Because like I
Yeah.
remember the litigators reading that, and you could
Yeah.
just buzz through those Grisham novels
Oh yeah.
so quickly. It's crazy. The litigators, I
We
remember I
why
closed
did you
my
want to
eyes, I
yeah.
opened them, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book.
Yeah. And then you read
Crazy.
and read. And then once you're there, you're like, I can't stop. I can't stop.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you read
That's
the
like this
pages
one I just
faster.
picked up. This one I
What's
just
that?
picked up was The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, which
Yeah.
was Michael Chabon's magnum opus that he won a Pulitzer Prize
I
for.
got to read that
And
because I
that
read his other
is
one.
it's really, really good. Well, this is fiction too.
Yeah.
And I've never really read his fiction before, just his memoir.
Mhm.
The Fatherhood for Amateurs was really good. The
Is that
one
the one I read?
Yes, you read
Yeah.
that one. That was
Yeah.
really, really good. I
Yeah.
remember just reading each chapter. He's a really good essayist. What's really funny is what I'm realizing is that the best novel writers are the greatest essayists, which
Yeah.
is something
They
to
write a short,
be
and when
noted.
you say essay, like 15, 20 pages, that's a
Yeah,
chapter. And they
exactly.
write about something in a story. Well, that's the other book that I'm writing is about, and I have it on here. I haven't actually written it. And I was trying to do it in a structured way, is to like pick certain times in my life that things happen. Because that's one of the things that, when you read that Chabon book, The Amateur Father, and he talks about learning how to write, the best things he's ever written are stories about things that he's actually done. And so you have a first person view to it, like, not having food. When people talk about pantries, that's something that just sticks out at me. Is that, when your kids nowadays, or even then, would open up the pantry, oh, there's nothing to eat, and there's like 40 cans in there of all this different stuff. Well, I still remember when my brother told me, but later, where we would open the pantry, which is literally just two cabinets over the stove, and there was nothing in there. And you're like, that it's like it sticks with you when you think about that and how that story was. And then if you wanted something, you would go collect bottles, and we would collect bottles, and then we would go to like for some reason the people that were in the trailers, it was like 3/4 of a mile away. We knew where they were because it was next to the liquor store. Great. We knew that at age 5, 6. That we would go up there and we would steal the bottles, and that's when Coke bottles were only a six pack of Coke bottles at a time. Is the people in trailers for some reason would set them on their front porch until they drank a whole case, and then they take it in and change in. And a 6 pack of bottles, 2 cents a bottle, was 12 cents. And a can of bean with bacon soup was a dime. So, I could go steal that off someone's front porch, and I was
Yeah,
like 5 or 6. So if you stole something, then it's like they look at you and say, "Oh, you little, I'm gonna get tall your mom and spank you," and then you go down to the Giant and buy your can of soup, and you're like, you know,
figuring it
but
out, figuring a
yeah,
way to go
oh
get
yeah,
around.
yeah, there was always ways to do that, the good old days. We went from novels to, uh, uh, well, the one is like a list of, I have 17 chapters of events that happened that I can remember that are really, really like emblazoned. And I'm sure you have that too. And when
Well,
you
you
go back,
need an outline. That's when I discovered
right?
very quickly when I was free writing during the pandemic in the book that I completed the first draft and then the second
Yeah.
draft and then now the third draft is just a wholehearted nightmare. But
Yeah.
still working on that. But man, I didn't have any sort of plan, no outline, just free writing until was happy with how it ended. And
Hmm.
it would have been a lot easier if I did an outline. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that
Was
now. It would have been a
was it
lot easier.
there's a bunch of prolific writers now, like Crichton or whatever. He's dead, but some of the other ones, they put out like 3 books a year, 4 books a year, 6 books a year, something like that, and they have co-writers that write in their genre. But the way they do it is that people will tell you they have a set outline that they start from. We have a protagonist. We have these people that we go after them.
Hero's journey
They're
kind of thing.
bad.
Yeah.
Our guy almost dies, and in the end, he saves the world or saves the city or saves the girl, and then everything's perfect. And people get to read that and they get excited, and then they know, and it's always a different, it's Miami, it's San Francisco, it's Mumbai, it's Tokyo, it's whatever. And then they talk about the surroundings, and they make everything very detailed. What weapons they use and the class of weapons. It's an HK. It's got a 14 shell clip, and it's an auto, whatever the hell it is. And they even talk about the little red dot sight that you can get, and blah 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 blah. And they go into the great depth and detail of what it is, but it's really just a format that you follow. And you hear about the same that they do with, like they used to have 30-minute, which were 26 or 24-minute episodes of TV. And when they did them, they had to have a start, a middle, and an end, and they had to do a couple things. I mean, I
No,
still remember,
exactly.
yeah, like
Well,
Kung Fu.
we've been telling stories in the same kind of way since the medieval times.
Yeah,
I mean, the hero's journey has been something that we've been using since what is it? King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
yeah,
We've been telling, or even what was the other one? Beowulf? If you
yeah.
remember Beowulf,
Yes, I
same
read
kind of thing. The hero's
Beowulf is what I did in
journey
high
goes
school.
out,
That's
and
right.
it's like a circle. It's just a circle, and he comes out. He goes through this tough time, and sometimes it's splinters, and there's some other things in there. But in reality, it's the same storytelling method and kind of outline that we've used for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Beowulf was
Yeah.
the one I read in high school. I had a crush on the English teacher. And then, but the
Well, that
current
helps.
Canterbury Tales, we actually went to, uh, the wife and I, first time we went to the UK, hopped on a train and saw it and just stopped and stayed there and walked through. And it was just like,
Yeah. That's
this is,
that.
that's a real place.
We're here.
That's a real place. It's like, if you read any stories about Egyptian, the guys in charge, whatever they are, the czars, the head dudes, the poobahs,
Pharaohs.
pharaohs. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Poobahs is a little off, but they, and then you go there and you see it and you're like, wow. Or when you read about the roaring 20s and 30s and things like that, but when the 30s is the 20s, the Hearst Castle, and how he had all the people that, I mean, the
Vanderbilt.
greatest people. And you go there and you sit on the steps and you're like, I'm sitting on the same steps Clark Gable sat on. I'm doing, this is where,
Certain energy to it.
President, Wilson came, or whoever it was at the time, and walked up these steps and talked to this guy. And you're just like, that, that's a sense of history. That's one of the reasons I travel, is to get those feelings,
Me as well.
and to
That and
learn, and to learn.
meeting other people is really important. But I think we're coming up on our time here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, pretty quick, isn't it? It's always quick.
Gabby. Well, we
Yeah,
do the same thing here that we do in those things, is you have 30 minutes and we do
yeah.
it.
It measures it pretty
Right.
well. It measures it very, very well. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening. Without you guys, we would probably still be doing this, but we appreciate
Yeah.
each and every one of you, each and every one of you. And we also have a discussion section on the Spotify Q&A section as always. Ask us some questions. We have some answers. Do you have any parting notes for us here?
I think you should send us money, or if you can't do that, winning lottery ticket number, or tell Joe Rogan to return my call.
Yep.
That's what I
Yep.
say.
He's not
That's what we
picking up
always
the
do.
phone. He needs to pick up the phone.
He needs to pick up the phone, man.
All right. Be
What's the
easy,
problem?
everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers.